This is a personal letter from a fellow traveler in the return. My dear friend, I write to you not as one with the new authority or hidden revelation. I write as a person who reads the beginning and then traced what happened after it. What I found was not complicated. The Most High gave written instruction. People received it, then added to it. And then the additions became what people followed instead of what was first given. This is the whole story. Everything else is detail of how it happened and what it cost. What the Torah established first. Moses wrote 5 books. Those books contained the terms of the covenant. They named the God who made heaven and earth. They described what he required of the people he called. They stated clearly what would follow obedience and what would follow disobedience. Moses then gave a specific warning at the end of that instruction. Do not add to these words. Do not take away from them. The warning was not decorative. It was placed there because the Most High knew what people would do next. What happened with the rabbinic tradition? After the written Torah was given, teachers began to build protective practices around it. Those practices were passed down by word of mouth for generations. Then a crisis came. Jerusalem fell. The temple was destroyed. The people were scattered. The teachers who survived gathered their oral traditions and wrote them down. That written collection became the Mishnah. Scholars then debated and expanded the Mishnah over the following centuries, and those debates were compiled into the Talmud. The Talmud became the primary document through which the Torah was read and applied. In time, most communities did not read the Torah directly and then asked what it meant. They read the Talmud first, and the Torah was understood through it. When a practice in the Talmud differed from the plain text of the Torah, the Talmud held. The warning Moses gave at the end of the Deuteronomy had been fulfilled in the direction he named. The words were added to, and then the additions ruled. What happened with the Christian tradition? A teacher named Yeshua came from within Israel and called people back to the covenant. His earlier followers were Jewish and kept the Torah. After his death reported resurrection, his followers began spreading his message. Over the following decades, letters and accounts were written about him. Those writings were eventually gathered into collections. That collection was placed next to the Torah and the prophets and called a complete scripture. Then specific interpretations developed. Yeshua had not simply affirmed the covenant, he had fulfilled it in a way that ended its requirement. Teachers taught the Sabbath was no longer a specific day of rest, but a spiritual principle. Dietary boundaries were declared, removed by a vision given to one apostle. Circumcision was declared unnecessary for non-Jewish believers. Over the following centuries, the day of gathering moved from the 7th day to the 1st. The appointed times of the Torah were replaced with new calendar of observances. The result was a religion that honored the God of Israel and the Messiah of Israel, while setting aside the covenant terms the God of Israel had given at Sinai. When people inside the tradition were asked why, the answer was always the same. The later writings permit it, or the later writings require it. The Torah was no longer the measuring line. It had been replaced by the writings that came after it. Moses had warned about this too. Deuteronomy 13 stated that even a sign or wonder performed by a teacher who then led people away from the commandment was not a sign from the Most High. The miracle did not validate the departure. The written covenant did. What happened with the Islamic tradition? 6 centuries after the time of Yeshua, a man named Muhammad in Arabia began receiving what he described as revelation. Those revelations were eventually compiled into the Quran. The Quran affirmed that the Torah and the Gospels had been given by God to earlier peoples. It also taught that those scriptures had been corrupted or that their communities had failed to follow them rightly. It presented itself as the final and complete correction. This created a specific problem. The Torah was either the governing document of the covenant or was not. If it was, then a later document claiming to correct, replace, or finalize it was doing exactly what Moses warned against, taking away from the words already written and substituting it new terms. The Quran introduced a different prayer posture and different calendar, a different dietary framework with overlapping but distinct boundaries and different structure for the covenant community. The Most High of the Torah made a covenant with a specific people at a specific mountain and gave specific terms. The Quran addressed a different community with different set of terms and named the earlier covenant as preparation for what is brought. That is not return to the original. That is supersession of it. And a supersession of the covenant is what Moses spent the entire book of Deuteronomy warning against. What the pattern shows. Each tradition did the same thing in sequence. First, a real legitimate relationship with the God of the Torah existed. Then a crisis, a teacher, or a new revelation came. Then new material was added. Then the new material was placed in authority over the original. Then the original was read through the lens of what came after it. Then the people of that tradition could no longer see the original clearly because they were always looking at it through the layer that was added. The consequence of this is visible and not hidden. The people who were given the covenant as a governing document are divided into competing communities, each claiming the original while practicing something that differs from it in specific measurable ways. The Sabbath is observed on 3 different days across the 3 traditions. The dietary terms are accepted, modified, or removed depending on which layer or addition a person follows. The appointed times of the Torah have been replaced, spiritualized, or restructured. This is not a matter of interpretation. These are concrete, observable differences in practice, and they all trace back to the same cause. Something was added after the original, and the addition was given authority over it. What the return looks like. The return is not complicated, though it is not easy. You take the 5 books of Moses and you read them as the governing document. You do not read them through the Talmud, the New Testament, or the Quran. You read them first directly and you ask what they actually say. You then take everything else, prophets, psalms, wisdom, writing, later traditions, teachers, and communities, and you test them by what the 5 books already established. If they align with what was written at Sinai, they are useful. If they contradict it, nullify it, or replace it, you set that part aside regardless of who wrote it or what signs accomplished it. You observe the Sabbath on the 7th day because that is what is written. You follow the dietary terms because they are written. You observe the appointed times because they are written. You pursue justice and care for the poor and the stranger because those things are written. You do not need a teacher to unlock the meaning. The text is plain enough to act on. Where it is unclear, you hold the question open rather than filling it with a tradition that overrides it. This is not a new religion. It is not a rejection of everything that came after the Torah. It is the application of the standard Moses gave before he died. Test what comes later by what was given first. Everything that passes that test, keep. Everything that fails it, release. The Most High described himself as the one who will be what he will be. He was there before the additions. He is accessible in the original written terms. He does not require you to enter a tradition in order to return to what he said first. He requires you to read it and do it. I am not your authority. The written text is. I am only someone who reads it and is telling you what I found. I am not a gatekeeper. Come back and read it for yourself. Your fellow traveler, one who returned to the first written word.